The first 48 hours of a major blackout are not about comfort. They're not about boredom. They're not even about inconvenience. They are about biology, physics, and psychology colliding all at once. And most people lose because they don't realize the clock started ticking the moment the lights went out. Here's what nobody tells you. Infrastructure doesn't fail all at once. It cascades. Electricity is the keystone. When it disappears, everything that depends on constant power begins to unravel quietly, then violently. Water treatment plants rely on electric pumps. Fuel stations require electric pumps. Cell towers need backup batteries that typically last a few hours. Grocery stores depend on refrigeration. Traffic systems depend on signal control. Hospitals depend on generators, and generators depend on fuel deliveries. You're not just losing light. You're losing the invisible web that keeps 21st century life stable. In the first 6 hours, most people assume it's temporary. They light candles. They scroll their phones. They wait. That waiting is the first fatal mistake, because the moment you suspect it's not coming back quickly, you should shift from passive consumer to active survivor. The 48-hour rule begins with one simple truth. Your safety depends on speed. The first priority isn't food, it's water. The human body can survive weeks without calories, but dehydration starts degrading cognitive performance within hours. By the time you feel thirsty, you're already behind. Municipal water pressure depends on electric pumps and gravity-fed towers. Once those reserves drain, taps run dry. Fill every container you own immediately. Bathtubs, sinks, pots, bottles. This works because stored water inside your home becomes a controlled micro-reservoir, insulating you from system failure. A standard bathtub holds roughly 80 gallons. That's survival insurance if distribution fails. The second threat is information collapse. When cell towers exhaust backup power, communication fragments. Without reliable information, rumors spread faster than facts. Panic becomes contagious. Human beings are social animals. We calibrate our emotional response based on others. When you see neighbors panicking, your nervous system mirrors them. Cortisol spikes. Decision-making degrades. The 48-hour rule demands psychological insulation. Reduce exposure to chaos. Conserve battery by turning phones to low power mode. Use them intentionally, not compulsively. Panic burns energy you cannot afford. Then comes refrigeration failure. After about 4 hours without power, a fridge begins to warm into the bacterial danger zone, above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Pathogens multiply rapidly between 40 and 140 degrees. That's not paranoia, that's microbiology. During the first 24 hours, prioritize consuming perishables strategically. Eat what will spoil first. Keep the door closed as much as possible to preserve thermal inertia. Cold mass inside the refrigerator slows temperature change through simple heat transfer physics. The more you open it, the faster entropy wins. Now let's talk about the mistake that gets people hurt. Visibility. When darkness settles across an entire city, it changes behavior. Crime historically spikes during prolonged blackouts because anonymity increases and response times slow. Police departments are strained. Traffic accidents multiply at intersections without signals. The 48-hour rule says, reduce your signature. Don't broadcast that you have power if others don't. Cover windows at night, limit loud generator use. Security isn't about paranoia, it's about probability management. By hour 12, fuel becomes psychological gold. People rush gas stations only to realize pumps don't function without electricity. Even if they did, supply chains operate on just-in-time delivery. Fuel trucks rely on digital logistics systems and passable roads. Gridlock chokes distribution. The smartest move isn't me driving around searching for fuel. It's staying put unless evacuation is absolutely necessary. Movement increases exposure to risk. Shelter, in most blackout scenarios, is statistically safer than chaos on the streets. Sleep deprivation is another silent killer in the first 48 hours. Artificial light has extended our circadian rhythms for decades. When darkness returns, your brain chemistry shifts. Melatonin rises, but anxiety suppresses rest. After 24 hours without sleep, cognitive impairment mimics alcohol intoxication. Reaction time slows. risk assessment worsens. You must protect sleep like it's medicine, because it is. Establish darkness intentionally. Conserve battery-powered lights for essential tasks. Your brain under stress needs restoration to make rational decisions. By the second day, sanitation becomes a looming problem. Toilets rely on water pressure. Without it, waste management deteriorates quickly. Improvise solutions, lining a toilet bowl with heavy-duty bags, adding absorbent material like kitty litter, create a temporary containment system. This works because pathogens spread primarily through contact and contaminated water. Containment reduces exposure vectors. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. Temperature control is the next critical variable. In winter, hypothermia can begin when core temperature drops just a few degrees. In summer, heat stroke escalates rapidly when indoor ventilation fails. The physics is simple. Without climate control, your home becomes a passive box subject to external conditions. Insulate one room. Use blankets to trap body heat. In hot climates, create cross-ventilation at night and seal during peak heat. Survival is about microclimate management. But the real reason most people fail the 48-hour rule isn't lack of supplies. It's denial. They assume someone else will fix it. Modern society conditions dependence. We outsource resilience to institutions. When those institutions pause, even briefly, confusion replaces competence. The people who survive the first 48 hours aren't necessarily stronger. They're faster to accept reality. Here's the escalation nobody anticipates. Hospitals begin triage prioritization as generator fuel dwindles. Traffic collisions increase due to non-functioning signals. Elevators stall. Medical devices lose reliability. Pharmacies cannot process digital prescriptions. If you rely on medication, the first 48 hours are your window to secure it. After that, access narrows dramatically. Community can either save you or destroy you. Isolation breeds vulnerability, but crowds breed instability. The optimal strategy is small-scale cooperation. Trusted neighbors sharing resources and information. Group survival increases defensive capacity and emotional stability. Humans regulate stress through social bonds. Oxytocin counteracts cortisol. That's neurobiology, not sentiment. By hour 36, grocery shelves are stripped. Not because food vanished, but because buying behavior becomes irrational. Studies of disaster psychology consistently show that perceived scarcity triggers hoarding impulses. It's a primitive survival reflex. The irony is that hoarding accelerates scarcity. If you're waiting until day 2 to gather essentials, you're already late. The final phase of the 48-hour rule is adaptation. You stop hoping, you start planning for duration. You calculate water consumption at roughly 1 gallon per person per day for drinking and minimal sanitation. You ration calmly. You conserve battery life. You reduce risk exposure. You observe rather than react. You understand that your objective isn't comfort, it's stability. Most people won't survive a major blackout not because they lack strength, but because they underestimate the speed of systemic decay. They wait, they panic, they move when they should stay, they consume when they should conserve, they expose when they should conceal. The 48-hour rule is simple. Act immediately, control water, protect information flow, manage food safety, reduce visibility, preserve sleep, contain sanitation, stabilize temperature, build small alliances, and accept reality faster than everyone else. Because in a modern blackout, the first 2 days decide everything. After that, the rules change entirely.